Thank you all for being here. I call to order the strategic planning meeting of the Chattanooga City Council for July 1, 2025. To get started, can I get a motion on the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, minutes will stand without objection. Okay, first up on our agenda today is a proposal from Councilman Elliott for a new council employee.
Yes.
Councilman, I hand the floor to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Council, we have discussed this before. I know prior discussions, we really had some issues around the constituent services piece. In particular, making sure it wasn't duplicating what already exists in Mayor Kelly's office. And so we really captured those concerns and made sure we broadened them to make sure it would fit a little bit more for council in the work that we do with our constituents and neighborhood associations, not chasing necessarily constituent services and complaints, understanding that's not necessarily our purview, but assisting us with the day-to-day works we would have with our in our districts, whether that's hosting town halls or community meetings, working on larger projects, beautification initiatives, whatever that may be, to give us a little bit of extra capacity, not replacing the work that we do as council members, but making sure we're able to enhance it, considering the sometimes our time constraints and limits. So, giving a complete overview of this again, this is a dual role, focus on policy, that is research and policy development. That is also project management for legislative initiatives. That can be research, that can be chasing down. I use this example often that Councilwoman Dotley's helping me on currently. I'm looking to stand up a beautification commission at some point, right? And as we chase and hunt down the intricacies of that, what does it look like to have additional capacity, not completely supplementing the work of a council, but additional capacity to do research, making sure that once we have some of the back-end studies, what does it look like to find a cost center where this could live, working with administration to see how this can be properly managed once we get administration buy-in on something like this. On the other end of this, you have your public relations and communications support. So this could be helping stand up press releases, navigating with the press. I think Councilman Henderson has his prime time spot tonight on his chicken bill. So chicken ordinance, excuse me. And so, like, this could be another example.
The big, beautiful chicken bill?
The big, beautiful chicken bill.
I wouldn't use that to sell.
I would.
But also, and then finally, wrapping it up with the constituent support piece and community engagement. And so, what you'll see, we have a standing job description in here. You also have a pay range that we worked with HR to flesh out. Some things that we do need to discuss in addition to if we would like this role, what structure would we like to follow as far as reporting. And I've put in a couple different scenarios in there for us to discuss. And then you also, once again, have some question and answers that hopefully will clarify some of this. So if that is all, I would love to entertain, if that's okay.
Do we have any questions, Council?
Yes.
Councilman Harvey and then
I'm
Councilman
so sorry.
Henderson. Go ahead.
I'm curious, and I want to welcome Trinity if she's in the room. Is Trinity in the room?
Yeah, she is.
Trinity, welcome.
Trinity.
Everybody's give Trinity a big hand. Trinity, I just met this afternoon, is an intern with us. So how do we foresee this position coinciding with her duties as an intern?
Yeah, I will say this, as somebody who interned at the city myself, you know, oftentimes our windows are short from how long we're here. And I could also admit that some of the more high-level works that I was kind of exposed to that, you know, it was great for me to sit back and learn. But I can also admit at that point in my career, I was not ready to be completely leaned in. I remember when I started, it was as an intern, it was under Mayor Burke, and we had the BFO process, budgeting for outcomes. And I think I was responsible for like reports and pulling reports. And I remember I worked for Moore Sullivan at the time, the chief operating officer. And I remember being in awe with how the staff was able to juggle all of these different priorities with the budget. And to simply be able to take that in and learn how to do this work at a higher level was incredibly beneficial. But at that point, I don't know if I'm honest with myself, if I was ready maturely or experience-wise to deal with some of those higher level works. I think this is a great opportunity to, as we bring in interns in our office, to expose them to more, to work in conjunction with this role, so that when they leave, they can be that better of a person and a professional on the back end. And I do believe there are some works where they can come in and have great impact. I think Trinity is going to be helping me actually with my beautification commission work, and I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what that can look like. But you know, I think when we even look at, you know, as we're preparing to go into this budget amendment, use that for example, that in itself is going to be overwhelming for all of us. And I think you're going to really need somebody who's going to be here full time, committed, 40 hours a week to really be able to peel that back to best support council. All non-council members at that, because you understand this role serves all of us.
Councilman Henderson.
Councilman, thanks for putting this together. It's very thorough, and I do support particularly the legislative part of this. I think I've mentioned this before, that you know, being able to have someone dedicated to do research, you know, for the council, I feel like is important for us, helping us write legislation. A couple of things that I would want to point out. The job description, the position title still has constituent support in there, and I wondered if we wanted to change that maybe to council support as opposed to constituent support, because we're leaving I thought we were leaving the constituent part to the mayor's office, and I feel like that's probably where that constituent piece needs to be, because if our constituents are bringing a problem to us, it must be a failure on the administration's part. They need to take care of that. I say that in tongue in cheek, okay? But I think maybe council support rather than constituent support, I think is what I was hearing you say, since we're facing
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think originally it was constituent services. We tried to take it a step back and broaden it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think your suggestion is a little bit more accurate.
So the second thing, I guess, so did HR, I guess, put this classification of the GS 21, because in my opinion, this seems a little high. And that concerns me a little bit.
So they gave us a range for us to choose from, and I can show those as well. And so what they did, they reviewed this job description, and they did they did a study compared to like roles in other municipalities similar to ours, and they came out with a range of several pay ranges. And I could send those out so you can kind of get a better idea. I think this was a little bit more of the middle of the road of what they suggested.
I'd certainly like to see it have a lower floor.
Okay.
Least, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, the top end, I think, is decided by the 9 of us. So,
Yep.
Anyway, that's my comments. I would support, you know, a legislative position.
Okay.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hill. I also support this, Councilman Elliott. When we first initially started discussing this, I made the analogy that this reminds me of having a hospital with no nurses. And I think our fundamental function as a council is the legislative capacity to be able to not get into the weeds and the operational side with constituent stuff, but, because I agree with Councilman Henderson is that, when it gets to us, when it's all the constituent operational service delivery issues, I think we should pounce it back to the mayor's office. I think that's their full-time capacity to make sure that those city service deliveries are being handled properly. So I support the council, doing the council support, because we need more support, not just in the legislative arena, but even in the legal capacity, I think. And so I'd be curious to know, like, what type of, in the Director of Legislative Affairs, what is the legal advisory component that could potentially be wrapped up into that, if any, since we have the dual?
I think that's a good question, Councilman. I think one thing I would say, this role is new. And so as we created this role, and let me back up, because I feel like this will behoove me, and excuse me, Councilwoman Knoll and I have been working on this together, so I don't want to throw you out there, I'm sorry. So don't knock me out. Because she started this
Choke
project.
you out right behind you.
No, because she started this work last term. But one thing we wanted to be sensitive to, this is new. Council has not entertained expanding new staff in some time. I think it is appropriate for the activeness of council, but we also wanted to be fiscally mindful of the resources we're expending. And so we're already kind of combining two roles into one. Mm-hmm. And we were sensitive to that fact, because we've heard this come up a couple different times. Councilman Henderson's brought this up, and I know this has been a concern for you as well. In this job description, one of the experiences that we're opening up is somebody that may potentially have a law degree. And that can be great, but that doesn't mean they're a certified lawyer. They may not be bar certified. And so, you can always add that into this, but I think the concern may be, are you oversaturating a role, right? Are you adding too much responsibilities to already full job description? Because we did this really could be two different roles in itself. But we wanted to try to show that, there's utility behind this here. And we also find some cost savings as well by combining it. But, I will say this. I think there is virtue in discussing having additional legal counsel dedicated for counsel advice separate. But I would shy away from trying to put even more into this one. Mm-hmm. But I am sensitive to your question now and the potential need.
My last question is, how does this correspond with our current council support staff? Like, from what we know about our current council support staff, which I don't know much, actually, I would love to actually learn a little bit more as far as job descriptions. How does this position overlap or correspond with our current council support staff?
That's a good question. I'm going to answer that in two-pronged ways. So I actually looked at the descriptions for our current staff members, but also got some institutional knowledge from Councilman Henderson. Kind of, you've been here long, so you're it.
Grand chair.
You're not old, brother. You're well seasoned. There you go. I think what you'll see, you have our clerk's role, who is really mostly administrative, and so is Crystal's role as well. I think the initial thought around Melissa's role that they would be a little bit more of a council support role when it was originally brought out. Mm-hmm. I think that role may have over time changed, where it has become a little bit more administrative support. And I would love if Nicole had rebuttals to this, to definitely hear There's some of the people here, I don't even know Cole's in here.
Nicole,
Y'all ran Nicole out.
it's okay if she's not. I think for me, I just wanted to make sure that as we are looking into council support, that we're looking at everything as a whole.
But to that point, and because I think this has been tossed out as well. What does it look like to combine that council support staff role with something that already exists, like a Melissa's role or something like that? Here's my thoughts on that. Here's here's my thoughts on that. I think I'm leery of adding additional responsibilities to something that somebody has not been.
Yeah, and we all are.
Yeah, they may not apply for, they might have been a set a standard for them, but also is that a good fit for their skill set, right? And for them to do the job. Are you pushing additional responsibilities on somebody and potentially setting them up for failure? And that's something I don't want. That's something I'm a little leery of, in my opinion.
Cool. I just, whenever you do, as we consider this position, whenever it goes up for vote, I would just love to kind of do to have a written analysis, because or you have the job descriptions of the council.
Yeah, I
You
can
send that to me, that would be great. But yeah, that's it, thank you.
I know Councilman Harvey has another question. Do we have anybody that hasn't spoken yet that would like to ask? Councilman Dodd?
Well, Councilman Elliott, like the research, and thank you so much. You know my opinion on it. I personally don't think that we need it, but that's just me personally. But if that's something that the council needs, or members of the council need, that's that. But my two things are, in regards to the intern, I always believe in proof of concept, because this is an opportunity for us to do that. So, Trinity, who's our awesome city councilor. Usually I keep interns to myself. I keep it to myself as my intern. But in the spirit of trying to show proof of concept, because for me, that is important. We are the legislative body. We are fiscally responsible for the city's budget. And if anybody's going to show fiscal, responsibility, it's going to be us. So if we're going to spend $105,000 or whatever that floor may be, then I think we need to show ourselves that we can do that, which is why this time with our intern, she'll be helping with legislative matters, creating legislative framework, things that we can kind of plug and play with as we're doing research. So over the course of this month, I just encourage everybody, if you have something you want done or something you want researched, it's an opportunity for our wonderful intern to really dig into it and just have a proof of concept, because without the proof of concept, I wasn't here whenever we had somebody previously, but without proof of concept, it's hard to see the value in this, in my opinion, because we've gotten legislation passed without anybody prior to, and even looking at the ordinance we'll be looking at today. We've moved forward with legislation without somebody. So just seeing that proof of concept, and the other major thing I do have a concern with is management. We are all part-time. We all have our own jobs. We all have our own, other things that we're doing outside of this. We don't make the big bucks. And when they do the list of paid employees, highest paid employees on the city, you don't even see city council on there, because we are some of the lowest paid employees in the city. Because we're not here. We're not here all the time. Doesn't mean we're not effectively representing our communities. We're just not in the building here to physically manage anybody. So I think that would be my other concern, is who's going to manage this person? And I see there's a model in here. Who's going to manage? Who's keeping up? And have we considered doing part-time first? I believe in phasing things in. That's just my personal approach. And what does it look like to have someone part-time first? We have intern, then what does it look like to phase in a part-time person to a full-time, or something like that. But proof of concept to me is going to be important. Again, I support, if that's what council members need, then that's fine. But just throwing those ideas out there. Just proof of concept, who's managing, because we are not here, and so who are they reported to? Who's making sure that work is getting done, and it's not just ChatGPT work? You know what I mean? So that is my thing.
Yes, so we do have several other folks that have come, including some critters.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't want us to, we can always put this back on for 2 more weeks from now.
Okay.
So if you'd like to briefly respond, then we'll get Councilman Harvey.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Dolly, I really appreciate your thoughts on this, and I share the sentiment of proof of concept, seeing if this is something that works. You know, this is something that, from my time working on the other side of the city, I saw a need for, and I think being here for these 2.5 months, how long we've ever been here, I see the need being even greater. I think we have a newer council with a lot of great ideas, who are vibrant, who are looking to push things for the community and the city as a whole. And I see this as a proof of concept. I see this as an opportunity for us to slow walk this, making sure that we're being as fiscally responsible as possible, especially with consolidating roles, to see if a year from now, does this work? And I think we're also building in, making sure we're tracking metrics. So month by month basis, we can start seeing reports as to what does the work look like, right? What is your workload? Is this money well spent? And I think as we get into this next budget cycle, we look back, we look at our reports and say, is this a good use of taxpayer dollars? If yes, okay, how can we continue responsibly? If not, let's take a step back. And this was our proof of concept, all right? And I think part of the additional support from our intern will be helpful to build capacity, but I think also having a full-time staff to chase, I think, the needs that this council is going to present to this individual is going to be helpful. I ain't gonna lie, I know for me, I can probably put this person to 40 hours plus a week by myself with just research alone, not taking away the responsibilities that I have, but the things that I would like to get accomplished. But I appreciate that, and I'm trying to align to that proof of concept model as much as possible.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Elliott.
Councilman Harvey.
Thank you, Councilman Elliott, for your research and hard work of putting this together. And I appreciate your concern. And I do think something like this could be beneficial to the council at some point. However, my concern is I've been vocal in the last few weeks about other departments within the city with spending and how tight our budget is right now as we find ways to pull within the budget to give raises to police and fire. And so just from my standpoint, I cannot in good faith support this at this time while I ask other departments to find ways to cut things.
I think to that point, I think it helps, and Councilwoman Dolly has been pointed this out, we do have funds already for this position that are allocated. So we're not looking to pull away from additional funds, which I hope can give you a little bit easier mind that there are funds set aside for additional staff that we've already voted on, that was in this past budget, that we can lean on without disrupting anything further. And I'm also very sensitive to that as well. I think even when I campaigned, I knew we were going to be coming up on conversations around how do we better fund first responders. When I even made a commitment to my constituents of like, you know, we can't push this all back on them. And I think those are conversations we're going to continue to have.
Sure.
But these are funds that we've already set aside that we can tap into. And honestly, when you think about the time frame for when this position is probably going to be hired, it's probably going to, if we do go forward with this, it's probably going to be 3-4 months before we even have somebody that's on board, before money even starts. So you may not even use the whole pool of money that is allotted. And so that way we know we're being that much more fiscally responsible with this. And I hope that can give you a little bit more peace of mind, knowing that fiscal responsibility is one of the primary lenses we're looking at this, going into it, while also making sure we're putting ourselves as colleagues and as a council in the best position to best serve our constituents and districts.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know you're looking out for taxpayer dollars, and I know you're wanting to be fiscally responsible.
You think I'm a little extra conservative too?
I would just ask maybe if we look and lean into our new intern, see how that goes, and then reevaluate later. But that's my 2 cents.
What would later look like for you?
I think first
let's finish this up.
Yeah, I think first we find, we've got to find a solution with the budget amendment and funding fire and police, so something after that. But we can continue discussing that later.
So thank you, Councilman Elliott. I'll just add a couple things. Sounds to me like there is support for some type of research augmentation for the council. It looks like we're building some support to that end. Regarding the budget that has been passed for FY26, we have money allocated in our budget that we can use for research. We have not built in another position in the budget, so let's be clear that while there's money, there's not another full-time position or even officially a part-time position. So to Councilwoman Dotley, chairwoman of our budget, you know, her point about phasing something in with a part-time or a contract, personally, I'm a little more interested in that. Also, I think something that I'm looking for before I can support something like this is to see actionable thought and work coming out of our work groups where we have identified together these are legislative matters that we know are going to require a heavy lift, and to start seeing progress on those. Like, for example, I know that the homelessness group has met. If they came out of that and said we need X research, that makes perfect sense to me. That would be that's the kind of work that I would see this do. What I personally don't want to see happen is a person whose time is spent on shiny objects, but on things that are intentionally deemed important by this council and the council people. So look forward to further discussion of this. So with that, let's.
Can I ask one more question, closing this out?
Sure.
As next steps?
Yeah.
What would it look like for decisive action to be taken on this matter for the council? As far as, does it need to be voted on, or what would that look like?
I would say that once we have something that looks like a job description that people feel comfortable with, that if you'd like to put it on the agenda, we can.
I didn't hear that because the doors are like, so I,
Want to know about
yeah,
decisive
it's like the doors are
action?
shutting, I couldn't hear you.
So I think you've got, it sounds to me like you've got pretty mixed feelings around this table about what the job description would be, who it would report to. There's a lot of unanswered questions still. So I'd keep working on that if I were you, but if you want to push it toward the agenda, we can certainly do that and see what happens.
So I think to wrap up, we'll put it on the agenda to vote. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have several agencies here to discuss the ARPA allocations that are on our agenda for next week. These were pulled off because council wanted additional information about them, so I hope that we will all, especially those of you who were not here for ARPA allocations before, will learn quite a bit. So getting us started, please welcome Chambliss. We've got Katie Harbison here. Yeah, that'd be great, thanks. And then I think we've got Kevin who's going to join us as well, who can provide some additional context as needed.
Do you want to say something, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, let me just say this real quick. So we only have 5 minutes, so you gotta go quick.
Right,
Yeah,
leave,
right?
Yeah.
leave a little bit of time at
That's
the
right
end
here.
so that they can ask questions.
Okay, thank y'all. I'll be quick. I'm Katie Harbison, President and CEO at Chambliss Center for Children. I appreciate y'all letting me speak to you today. I've got a quick overview of our campaign going on that I wanted to tell you about. The funds we have requested are specifically for this fund called the Building Futures Fund, but just a 30-second overview of who we are in case you are not familiar with our organization. We're a nonprofit that's local here to Chattanooga. We've been here since 1872. We serve children and families in many different ways. We do foster care, adoptions, transitional living and housing support for youth who age out of foster care, the Isaiah 117 house, which is the house that takes care of children on the day of removal until a foster home can be found. And then we also do a lot of work in the early childhood education and child care space. Our main campus is in Brainerd. We're licensed for 483 children on that site. We do 24/7 child care on a sliding fee scale there. We also operate child care centers throughout the city. Okay, there's my quick. So our building, of course, is not 152 years old, but our main campus buildings we moved into in 1937. And over the years, we've had a lot of deferred maintenance issues. I became president CEO in 2021. have been with the agency for 20 years, but one of our big focuses is on getting our facilities up to the quality of our programs. And we know that our facilities speak value into the lives of the children we serve and also into the employees who come there every day. And we have leaking roofs and cracked windows and places that aren't as pretty as you would want to take your children. We also have some issues with some of our housing where we're housing our young people who age out of foster care. So last summer, we started a $6.5 million capital campaign to restore, repair, and revive our buildings and properties. I'm excited to tell you of our $6.5 million campaign. As of today, we've raised $5.9 million of it.
Congratulations.
So I know, we're very, very close. The city has been supportive of our capital campaigns in the past. The one which was about 12 years ago, the city supported at $500,000. We'd love for you to do that again. You'd almost close us out. And if y'all want to be the closers of the whole campaign, that is perfectly fine. But anything you all can do to help us get to that goal would be amazing. Your sheet gives you some ideas of the projects. It gives you some idea of the scope of our facilities that we're looking to fix and revive. So I'll just stop there, and if y'all have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions?
None? Y'all totally know everything now, or you just?
Sounds like they're ready to write you a check.
Okay, if y'all close out the campaign today, I will be very happy.
you
We are
for
very
doing it.
close, and you can ask me any questions, and then Daisy Madison, former city employee, also on our board involved in the campaign, can answer those
That's
for
a
you
good
as well.
catch.
Not
I
just
know.
City employee.
Right?
She controlled everything.
I
for
know.
years.
I think Daisy may have written us the checks for the last campaign. I will say the last campaign when the city did $1 million, it was over multiple years, so that is an option as well. We're asking folks to make up to 5-year pledges. So.
Thank you very much.
All right,
for all you
thank
do.
you all.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being
it.
here.
Did the stack end up anywhere?
Okay, Chattanooga Zoo.
Zoo.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna stand right here because I don't want to, take up the hedgehog's aura that she's got going on. Hi, I'm Darby Long. I've been with the city of Chattanooga for 25 years and Friends of the Zoo for an additional 15. So this marks my 40th anniversary and the 40th anniversary of Friends of the Zoo. I got to meet a few of you last time, but if you haven't been to the zoo in a while, we welcome you. I know you're drinking from the fire hose right now. But we're really excited about our new campaign. But most importantly, I just wanted to share a moment. This partnership that we've built as a city employee who moved her desk 2 inches to become a Friends of the Zoo employee, I can tell you, they're amazing. They care about the zoo so much, and after years of serving in the Parks and Recreation Department, and being kind of low because we have a lot of things on top of us, now we have an organization that thinks only about the zoo, and we still have so many friends within that. Within the city, Chris Anderson got to give shout out. He came to the going away party for our red panda, so that's the kind of level of support we have from him. The capital campaign donations that we get from the city are integral to us asking for more money. If you don't know, we raised a lot of money in the community. We raised a lot of money from the state. We ask everywhere, but we need your support as well. And Donna's going to tell you a little bit about the hospital.
Well, I was just gonna say that, first of all, thank you for all the support that you've given us in the past. I feel like a lot of times, you don't hear a thank you enough, and we really do greatly appreciate everything that you do for us. We truly see it as a partnership. This is your zoo. This is the city zoo, owned by the city of Chattanooga. We are raising money for a new veterinary hospital. Early numbers put us maybe somewhere around $4 million. We're not exactly sure. We're still crunching those details. But one of the reasons why it's so important is our accrediting organization, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, they mandate that we have a stellar veterinary hospital. We have a good veterinary hospital, but we need to bring it up to the next level. A lot of the other areas of the zoo we have been able to bring up to a wonderful level thanks to wonderful support like you guys have given us, but we need to just bump it up one more notch for our vet hospital. And in an effort to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, we will be able to provide treatment and surgeries and things like that on premises, saving us a lot of money so we don't have to contract those out to a third-party vendor. So it would really mean a lot to us, and I think I'm going to pass this over
over to Jake,
Yeah,
Director of
absolutely.
Marketing.
Yes, my name is Jake Cash. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Chattanooga Zoo. This is my friend Giza, the African pygmy hedgehog. Giza doesn't have very good eyesight, so he will be trying to jump out of my hand as much as possible. He is a beneficiary of our current veterinary hospital. He actually had some glands in his reproductive system that atrophied, and he was experiencing inflamed blood vessels. So he had to have an emergency surgery in order to take those out. So without our skilled veterinarian, vet techs in our current space, he would not be here today. So we're very grateful for that, and like Donna said, our current space is good, but it's really not adequate for the amount of animals that we have now, especially with AZA accreditations and other requirements. So we really need the new hospital to make sure that we're upholding the highest standards of animal care. Yeah. But another reason that we brought him along was just to showcase a big part of what we do, which is the connection between people and animals. You know, if you can see something, you care so much more about it. So that's both in terms of the animal care we provide and in terms of all the education and even hands-on work we do for wildlife conservation locally and globally. Ever since we opened up our new Cape of Africa expansion last August, we've seen numbers increase really well. Attendance is up about 17% this year, which is really exciting to see. And that, you know, you guys help with that as well. So that really helps us accomplish our mission of education, conservation, and connection with animals. So again, thank you for your time for us today, and thank you for letting us bring Giza along just to show a little bit about what we do.
And do you guys have any questions for us?
Council, do you have any questions? I have one question. So this hospital sounds like it'll be one of the best vet hospitals in the area. Is it something that you would have capacity for outside animals to be treated there in the event of an emergency, or it will only be for zoo animals?
You know, we have not dug into that very much. We've just entertained an architect who's worked with us before. That's not off the table. I think we have a lot of capacity right now. I don't know that we would have room for more. Certainly we have between River and VCSG, we have a couple of excellent emergency hospitals right here in the city, then that's their business. But we wouldn't not do that. So if we needed to help someone out, we do take in through different police calls and stuff, animals that are hurt or injured, like monkeys that are shot in someone's backyard, not our monkey. So we did help out with that, you know, and we do that all of the time. So it's we kind of have that role. I don't know that we have the capacity. I think that would take a lot of money. But now, the council is considering. No, we're very grateful, and I know what this partnership has meant, so thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. Appreciate you all being here. Chattanooga Future Fund, Chattanooga 2.0.
So nice to be in the room with all these friends working hard for our community. Thank you for all you do. I'm going to talk fast. So I am here on behalf of Chattanooga 2.0. My name is Carrie Randolph. I'm Executive Director. We're the community's cradle to career backbone. And that means we work across, we really are focused on educational and workforce outcomes for Chattanooga and Hamilton County. We work to increase kindergarten readiness, literacy success, increase post-secondary attainment, strengthen our workforce pipeline, and create viable pathways to prosperity or economic mobility for our young people. And we do that by uniting partners across education, business, nonprofit, and government sectors to solve complex challenges together. Chattanooga Future Fund is our newest exciting initiative. It's a first of its kind local program that plants the seeds of hope and opportunity for every child in our community. But very simply, it is a career and college savings account, a seed account for every kindergartner and middle schooler in Hamilton County Public Schools over the next 5 years. It's a $150 seed, and it's in partnership with the Tennessee State Treasury because they have a matching program for families who make up to 250% of poverty. That is, we estimate that's at least 60% of our families. And so we are supporting them in pulling down $1,500 in matching funds, which means those students will have almost $2,000 in their account before it starts to grow. If you're familiar with 529 accounts, that's what these are. So they grow tax-free, and then they're available for students to use for training beyond high school. That can be 2 or 4 year college, it can be apprenticeships, it can be workforce training, it can be equipment for workforce training, pretty broad use. And so we're really excited about that. The data from other communities who have programs, ours is unique, but programs like this, is that kids who have at least $100 to $500 in an account are 3 times more likely
to do something after high school and 4 times more likely to complete. And the reason that's so important is we know the jobs of today and tomorrow require training beyond high school to make a thriving wage. So far, we launched in February and started signing students up in March. So March to May, we signed up 2,500 students, invested more than $300,000 in those seed accounts. It was an awkward time to start. Honestly, it'd be much better to start at the beginning of the school year, and that's what we're doing. We've partnered with all 68 schools with eligible students. We've had more than 80 events for families. And we're starting to see the excitement build. We really hear from parents and community members that this really feels like a door opening for their student. And I'll say this, like for any of you who are paying for post-secondary or have paid for it, $100 to $500 is not very much, so I want to call that out. But what we see in the research and what we hear from families is it's that hope and belief that from an early age, I see myself, if I'm a student, or as a parent or caregiver, I see my student as doing something beyond high school, and we start planning for that early. So it's that mindset shift that we see and that hope and belief. We know that we have a goal of reaching at least 25,000 students over the pilot. We are doing rigorous program evaluation to know what the barriers are and what the opportunities are. And the reason we're doing kindergarten and middle school is our first students will be heading to post-secondary by the time we finish the pilot. And so we'll have really great data, and we hope this lives on forever. And I'll say this investment, I think, is a really important signal to the residents of Chattanooga and to our kids that we believe in them so much. We're investing in their future today. That's one ask. The other ask is to help us share this with your constituents. We have a lot of work to do in getting the word out to families and supporting financial literacy. We are partnering with financial literacy partners across the community to make this more accessible. So we just need the continued investment in this great work over time. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Council, do you have questions? Councilman Elliott.
Yeah, how much is allocated each year for the fund?
So we've made the promise that every eligible student has the money. So we've allocated about $2 million each year to meet that demand.
Okay, and then the next question: How do you guys sustain it? Like, is there yearly allocations from other agencies, or yeah?
Thank you for that question. So right now the investors are Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of Tennessee, the Benwood Foundation, the McClellan Foundation, Community Foundation of Greater Chattanooga, the Bobby Stone Foundation. Hamilton County government is considering an investment, and you all have invested in year one, and this is a continuation of that.
And are those other agencies multi-year commitments, or
They
these
are.
one time? Okay.
They are.
And I think final question: this is for every Hamilton County kindergartner, or
And middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grader.
okay?
Correct.
Okay.
As long as they're registered, and the school system is a huge partner in this, and
Okay.
it's been a huge advocate, and we have a point of contact at every school. We're also working with the community centers and Community Forward. You can imagine it's got to come from trusted messengers in the community.
And this follows the child even if they leave the school system?
Correct. It's more complicated than that. There's a piece of the fund because of the community investment. If a student leaves the county, it does not follow them.
Okay.
But we help them open their own account, and that's where the matching funds come from. That's theirs and follows them wherever they go.
Okay.
So
So this will be a recurring fundraising initiative.
it is, and if I can say one more thing about that, if you imagine this, the thing that's been really exciting about this is this allows people to invest directly in our kids. So, for example, to call out Chambliss. So, Chambliss's board and staff raised the funding to add an additional $50 to every entering kindergartner that's been through their program. We can do that. So, you can invest in any student through this, or a school or a class. So, it becomes a real platform for others to join in to invest in kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I do, Madam Chairman. When the funds are allocated to the students, what are the restrictions on it? Like, is it given to the parent or the students? Is it a check? You know, what does that look like?
So it works just like a 529, so you cannot access those funds until you've graduated from high school, and you have to submit for eligible expenses. So it can't be used for just anything. There are restrictions on it. That's in the tax code. So we just follow those restrictions that are in the tax
So,
code.
but the eligible expenses for post-secondary is considered what? Like, in this post-secondary only include a 2 or 4 year college? or is
No,
it
no,
just vocational?
it's workforce training programs, apprenticeships, equipment, can be used for transportation to training programs, books, fees, all of those things.
Gotcha. Awesome.
As well as like tuition and things like that, obviously.
Gotcha. Thank you. Awesome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you all.
Appreciate your time. Hope for the inner city.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Anthony Watkins, and I'm at Hope for the Inner City. I'm going to pass some things around because I'm not sure how many of you know much about us, but with the limited amount of time I have, that's just a read for you there. I've been there for about 4 years, and Hope for the Inner City has been in existence in some form since for about 50 years. It started very small, and the community kind of grew into it, and in the early 80s, we moved into the Salvation Army building in East Chattanooga. The building's 59 years old, so in my entry, I found there was a lot of issues with the building, a lot of things, old building. And since then, we've done quite a bit of work just to improve on it. Our ask today is really more funding for the Capitol. So we got about a 20,000 square foot building, the roof's been replaced. We have 6 HVAC units, those have been replaced. So it's been a lot of work to try to do the minimum amount in an old building, but enough to keep it healthy and to provide space for when the community comes in, that they can feel safe and comfortable. So in the midst of the work we do, we have about 6 programs, but today I want to focus on the dental clinic. That what we've done over the last 2 years, trying to receive funding for that. The clinic was established in 1985, and it was working and thriving. Probably in 2023 is when we realized we needed to make some updates. Dr. Roy Williams on the Sucker Mountain started a clinic to kind of handle the need for dental care. Dental care is pretty major because when I think about that alone, if your dental health is poor, that can keep you from working and keep you doing a lot of things. So in the midst of just as time passed, equipment and things in the clinic needs to be updated. That's where the dentist got concerned because some of the work they needed to do had to go back to their office. If they had to go back to their office, why would they come to the clinic? So in the midst of our work, all that we do, the sheet that you have will talk about the impacts. We look at the well-being, the health of the community, and the community we serve mostly, there's a lot of poverty there, so we have a lot of people that don't have the coverage for dental care. And so our clinic works with them in such a way, and I will pass this around, just one of many before and after shots. So the fact that the clinic can be open, we're getting calls on a weekly basis. And again, we're doing a lot of capital campaigns for all the building, but this is something that's majorly important. And in doing so, we just hope that with the city, it's our first time asking for funding, they would consider helping us to make the improvements we need in the clinic, along with other portions of the building that needs to be updated as well.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Well, Anthony, I'll say I am not super familiar with Hope for the Inner City. I really appreciate you coming by and telling us about the program. I look forward to visiting sometime soon.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, thank you. All
That's
right,
all you do.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
All
the
right.
Beth.
Questions? All right.
All right. All right. Good afternoon. I'm Reginald Smith. I'm the executive director of the Bethlehem Center, and I'm here to talk a little bit about our building and our programming that we operate. So the Bethlehem Center has been around since 1920, and we've operated in the building that we're currently housed in since 1960. The original building was built for us by an organization known as the United Methodist Women. They've been headquartered in New York, and we've been blessed to take over ownership of our building in 2022. I've been in place since 2015, and one of the things that we've been making sure that we do in order to really truly support our community is to also make sure our building represents the community we serve. Our programming runs the gambit. We operate programming that starts with education. So we have a hardcore 21st Century Child Learning Center every day after school, serving roughly about 80 students. We multiply that in the summertime, and we operate our summer programming. But we recognize that the work that we do in our community is not just going to be focused on the children if we really truly want to large impact. So we also work with the adults. We host a series of adult programming as well, primarily focused on food insecurity. We recognize that a lot of terms are thrown around like food insecurity or food deserts. What we're truly looking at is the fact that a lot of our community members don't have access to fresh produce, don't have access to healthy food right there in the community in which they live in. So on site, we have a farm. And when I mean we have a farm, we have a real live farm. It's a small farm. We grow we grow fruits and vegetables. We are definitely a fan of the chicken bill, as it's being called here. And so we would love the opportunity to have chickens to continue to give out eggs to our community. Six chickens, and they produce enough eggs for us to have to give to the community. So we're definitely interested in that. But what I'm here to talk to you all today about, our building was built in 1959. We occupied it in 1960, and our building is extremely old. Most of the systems in our facility are the original systems that existed when the building was state-of-the-art in 1960. Today, we would like to talk about our electrical system. It's old. It is in need of an entire overhaul. We've been working with various different organizations in town, and one of the things that they're constantly coming back to us and saying is that you can keep trying to replace this individual breaker and piecemeal this repair, but fact of the matter is we have 6 old breakers, 6 old large panels that need to be replaced. Each one of those units is extremely expensive. And though we do our best to raise funds to be able to support the community and to support the work that we do, we did not have the capacity really to add in over the last few years that we've owned this building into our budget the ability to do some of the major work that needs to take place that are security related. We take the safety and security of our children and the community members who come in our building extremely seriously. And what we're hoping to have take place today is that you all definitely support this endeavor to allow us to be able to do what we need to do to secure our facility and help our electricity in our building.
Thank you very much. Councilman Elliott.
First, I want to congratulate you, Dr. Smith, for becoming the next CEO of Urban League. You have big shoes to be filled at the Beth, and I just want to say you guys do really great work. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for you, but I'm also excited to see how the Beth continues to move without you. So thank you.
Thank you
for everything you've done for the Beth.
Councilwoman Dalton.
And Reggie, I'm gonna say something.
Yes,
because I'm out there with Reggie regularly. They do have a farm. I see it almost every day. And the Beth is a staple in the South Chattanooga community. When you're describing South Chattanooga, that is the point a reference. You say, well, do you know what a Beth is? And people are like, yeah. And then you direct them from there, where to go. Of course, I'm in support of this. But just want to thank you for the work that you've done. And I'm a little hurt that you're leaving, even though I kind of knew it. But I'm hurt that you're leaving. But you are leaving a really good legacy, and it's a good way to leave your imprint there if we're able to get this funding to the Bethlehem Center to set the next person up for success. So excited about that. So thank you, Reggie, and just publicly thank you for the work you've done and sticking with me in my weird request. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reggie. I'm going to leave. I have a few more of these. I didn't know if we were passing stuff out today. I apologize. I didn't bring a lot of them, but I have about 5 more. I will leave my annual report. I didn't speak on everything that we do, and we do a lot. Yeah. But I wanted to focus on the electrical, but I'll send this to you all for you all to review.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Reggie.
Appreciate it. Okay, Launch Chattanooga.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hal Bowling and co-founder and co-CEO of Launch. I just want to say thank you for your partnership over the years with us. My co-CEO, Warren Jordan, and Kitchen Incubator, Chattanooga Director, Mark Collins, are here.
Good afternoon. Thank you again for having us here. As he said, my name is DeJuan Jordan, co-CEO of Launch. And for those who aren't familiar, Launch is a nonprofit organization that supports individuals who are underrepresented in entrepreneurship. Those are early stage startup businesses, and they go through a startup accelerator that we have that teaches them how to start a business, how to manage and operate a business. To date, we have trained 892 entrepreneurs, and of those 892 entrepreneurs, 642 businesses have been created, so we're very proud of that. We started realizing around maybe 2018, 2019, that many of the entrepreneurs that were going through our organization were starting food-based businesses, about 25%. And so we began talks about starting and opening a kitchen incubator. And so in 2020, during the pandemic, we were able to open that kitchen incubator to support those food-based businesses. Those are caterers, food truck owners, CPG, which is consumer packaged goods. And to date, we have served 100 KIC members in that facility. We have currently 57 members who are a part of our programming, and then cumulative, they've been able to support their families by generating revenue by using that space. And to date, they have generated $4.2 million just being able to utilize that space and operate their businesses. We have been very proud of the work that we've done with them, and we've seen the impact that it's had. To date, we have invested $3.3 million into the space. That includes building purchase, renovations, things that needed to be put in place for them to operate legally. And we are continually to add to that with our patio, outdoor patio, which I will allow Mark to speak on.
Yeah, so I'm going to sit down a second. I am the director of the Kitchen Incubator of Chattanooga, and I presented this with Carol Burris last year, and what we come up with was, what is the ROI for the $65,000 that the city would be investing? And the city would be investing is a gap. What we're looking at the Kitchen Incubator is it's not just a patio, this is an extension of our program. We have recently got an FDA regulation, so having an FDA regulation means that we have to limit the amount of people that come into the building. We've also received where we need to go to UTK Knoxville for FISMA training, which that is something that we're going to be doing this year. But what I put together here is a 5-year projection if we have no gaps in our program, because that kitchen patio will support our Food Truck Fridays, which we started that program, which generates $110,000 to the entrepreneurs in their pocket. We also support consumer packaged goods. Anyone trying to get anything in a grocery store, like a bottle of water, they go through our program. We teach them traceability laws. Those people need a place to meet with their clients and do tasting out on the patio. It also helps us do R&D. There's a gap in Chattanooga. You want to start a restaurant. Where do you do a ghost kitchen at? We're the only facility of its kind. So by the city investing, they fill that gap where it makes it all weather related, so that if we have wind and rain, which we can't control, we're able to still have those programs on the patio. So I wanted to speak at that and just let you know that that patio isn't just on the back. It explains everything with our ARP, our ARPA funding that we were looking for. But it is like workforce development. And when I talk about workforce development, we have a facility that's on hands-on training. So we have the health department and the Department of Agriculture. They have a space to come to. They come to that space and they walk on and off of those trucks and teach those entrepreneurs how to operate in day-to-day lives. So we are there to offer the support. I don't want to take up too much time, but if you have any questions, we want to open the floor to any questions.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you for this program. This is one of my favorite entrepreneur development programs in our city. I'm a little jealous that this is in District 6. Maybe in redistrict, I'm going to carve that back into 5 with the airport. But had a really great conversation with Councilwoman Burris this morning in her absence. She's not feeling well. So she wanted me to stress the return on the investment. And our investment of $65,000 into your patio is more than $65,000 and what we get out of this. And she stressed that to me this morning, and I wish there were other organizations who could take that amount and cause the economic impact, just not in her district, but in the sistering districts like mine in District 5. So thank you. Gladly support this.
Thank you, Councilman, because as you know, we hosted our first community event. Councilman Clark and Councilwoman Rikita Dotley was there. We did Battle of the Bosses, and it rained. So without that patio, we hosted an event because I don't know if any of you are aware, but the culinary programs in Chattanooga and Howard and Brainerd have been cut to $1,500. We work with Adrian Terry with the tourism. And so we have brought in Skills USA. We are the host location in Chattanooga for the whole state of Tennessee. Our schools schools cannot compete. They don't have the funds to compete in culinary. We're able to bring those culinary there. So when I'm speaking to Skills USA, they said they have 6,000 in their culinary program. We raised $8,000 that day, so which brings the 1,500 that the schools have up to 5,500 for each of those schools. So now our schools, if they want to compete, they have a fighting chance to compete. So not only do we train entrepreneurs, but we do community events like that, and we have a heart for the community. And I told you the other day, you are in our district, District 5 and 6, there's no lines. Brainerd Road is not a line. We support them, and I even go to District 7 because I support the Cocoa Cafe like crazy, working with the architect.
I'm really excited about this one. I think I've always known about the great work y'all have done, but when I started really peeling back the work with economic development, our committee, and being able to see the true impact that y'all do, you guys are a true staple in our economic development community, and thank y'all for everything that y'all do. You do it with very few resources, and you guys, echoing what Councilman Clark says, you guys exponentially increase that several fold. So thank y'all, and I look forward to y'all being around a long time.
Thank you so much.
If y'all need any taste testers, I contract that for free.
Councilman, we always need taste testers.
Call me
We do.
anytime.
Do we have any other questions? I have a question. What is your annual budget
Our-
for Launch Chattanooga?
For launch, we do 1.5 million. 1.5 million is our annual budget, yeah.
And how many staff do you have?
Currently, we have 5.
5 full-time.
And the numbers that you've got for Launch, 892 entrepreneurs trained, 642 businesses started. What's the timeline on that? How many years is that?
That is since 2011, since its inception.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our ARPA agency presentations. Thank you all again for making time to come and talk with council. I think it's really useful, and I know that council appreciates it. Kevin, thanks for getting that set up for us.
Yes, ma'am.
We're almost done here. Just a reminder on board appointments. And then does anybody have any comments or announcements to make? All right, well, I'll see everybody at 3:30. We are adjourned.
All right. It's right at 3 o'clock.
Go meet this little